Today, Dan Mitchell is our next guest. As a deficit hawk, Dan Mitchell is. So we look at these crazy numbers on the U.S. debt. I'd argue, Dan, that we're never really going to get serious about this because this story's been around for so long, and and the numbers have been bad for a long time. And until it's just the end of days, and something terrible happens and the market collapses or something, it doesn't seem like we'll really get serious, does it?
It's a big problem. It's like we're on the Titanic, and we see the iceberg, and we see the iceberg days in advance, and yet the politicians who are steering the ship won't turn it. But here's what you need to know. It's much worse than that report at the start of this segment said. The so-called reserves in the Social Security Trust Fund are nothing but IOUs. We're actually running a deficit in the program already. And oh, by the way, Social Security is actually in good shape compared to the health care entitlements. Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare, you're talking in the long run $100 trillion plus of unfunded liabilities. We baked into the cake.
Right.
We are Greece if we don't begin to change things. And unfortunately, Hillary Clinton actually wants to, I don't know, step on the accelerator, whatever ships have, increase the motors of the ship and rush toward the iceberg.
Whatever they have. You have, working all those analogies and comparisons in there. No, but you think about it, Dan, like when Alan Simpson talked about it and Erskine Bowles, they had a commission on it and on some of these similar types of issues, and other people have talked about it, and you just said it's worse than what the numbers show. It's hard for it to sink in, and it wasn't until, and even after '08 when the market fell apart, even then some would argue that we didn't do enough to prevent that from happening again when it was in housing. So how are you going to get through to people? How do you get your argument through to people?
That's a big problem because politicians, they only think to the next election cycle. That's their time horizon. And frankly, we probably have 10 years, 15 years, maybe 20 years before everything blows up. Think about it this way. If we were in Greece doing this program in 1998, some of us might be saying, oh, everything's just fine. We're able to borrow at 2% interest rates. Obviously, the markets have confidence in our fiscal system. But it was just 10 years later that Greece blew up and has never recovered. So, yeah, if we don't deal with it now, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. But, of course, the people who really should be blamed are the politicians because they created the mess, and some of them want to make it worse.
Yeah, and they want to your point, get reelected. Dan, thank you. It's good to talk to you. Dan Mitchell with us today.